All right, so we're going to get going. Again, my name is Scott Ozorowski, and I'm the Associate Director here in the Study Abroad office. And today we're going to be talking about Study Abroad for first-year students. So I'm going to start out with a little overview of study abroad and how to plan for study abroad early. Then we're going to take some time and talk about the FY Abroad programs for first-year students. And we've got several different people that are going to be talking with us today. And then those are going to be Warren Schultz, who's a professor in the history department, who has led first-year abroad programs and was instrumental in helping create those programs here at DePaul. And then we have 3 students from DePaul who have done the first-year abroad programs when they were first-year students, who are going to be talking a little bit about their experience. So, all right. So actually, I'm going to stop my share for just one moment. As we get going, if you have access to be able to type in the chat, I would just love for everyone to just type in the chat really quickly. How did you hear about today's session? I know we talked about this is our study abroad week. We've got 25 different sessions about all different types of study abroad opportunities. And we've been trying to get the word out in lots of different ways. So if you have a second, just quickly type in the chat how I found out. This is a lot of emails, Instagram. Warren says I recruited him for this, which is correct. All right, so a lot of people by email, so great. All right. Right, someone from an honors mentor, wonderful. All right, I'm going to go back to sharing the screen again, and we're going to get started here. Great. All right, so a little bit of an overview of study abroad at DePaul. And again, this is for first-year students. If you're not a first-year student, you're welcome to be here, but we are going to be talking a lot about things kind of designed for first-year students. Welcome to DePaul. I know it's not the fall quarter that any of us expected a year ago, but we're thrilled that you are here. And it's a very strange time for study abroad, but we are still moving forward with planning for study abroad programs. And even though things are being impacted right now with COVID, there's going to be a time in the near future where we are able to be doing a lot more with study abroad again, and we're excited about that moment. A little bit of an overview of study abroad here at DePaul. We have about 1,100 students a year in a typical year will go abroad. So a lot of DePaul students taking advantage of the study abroad programs that we offer. We have over 80 different programs offered in a typical year, going to over 40 different countries. And those fall into roughly 2 different categories, term-long programs and short-term programs. Term-long programs are programs where you are abroad for a number of different months. So for an entire fall quarter or a longer semester, or for the entire winter and spring, or even for the entire academic year. Those are programs where you are living in a place for several months, taking a variety of classes, your whole schedule at a partner university or a partner organization abroad. The other programs that we have are called short-term programs, and close to 2/3 of the students at DePaul do these short-term programs. These are programs that are 1 to 3 weeks in length, and they're tied to a class or 2 classes that you're taking on campus or right now virtually. And the way that those work is you have a class that you take here in Chicago where you're learning about a topic, and then all of the students in the class will go abroad with their professor or 2 different professors at the end of the quarter to study that in the location. So you might be taking a fall class, and then you go abroad for a couple of weeks in December, all as a group. A winter class where you go abroad during spring break, or a spring quarter class where you go abroad at the start of the summer. So those are really great opportunities to have a shorter study abroad experience if you're not able to go abroad for a longer amount of time, tied to a specific class or 2 classes with your faculty going with the group. And one other thing to know is that we do have scholarship funding through the Study Abroad office. We give out close to $500,000 every year in study abroad scholarships. So if you're worried about cost, we do everything we can to try to make study abroad affordable for students. When you apply to a study abroad program, you are automatically considered for a scholarship. So you don't need to fill out a separate application to do a study abroad scholarship. As long as you apply for the program on time by the initial deadline for that program, you'll automatically be considered for a scholarship. So in terms of planning, as first-year students, one of the great things about thinking about study abroad as a first-year student is that you are able to start planning nice and early. And that's hugely important, and it's really, really important to your success in terms of being able to fit study abroad into your time while you're here. Early planning is key, and there are 2 different people that are key in that process for you. The first is your study abroad advisor, and the second is your academic advisor. So in our study abroad office, we have advisors whose job it is to work with you to help identify the right study abroad programs for you. We have a great website that has a ton of information about all of our study abroad programs, and that's something you can be navigating on your own. And you may end up finding exactly the program you want to do. But for a lot of students, there's several programs they're considering, or they're kind of not sure where to start. And that's where you can make an appointment with one of our study abroad advisors. They can help talk you through the process. Are you looking for one of our term-long programs or a short-term program? Depending on which those are, they can start to think about what your major is, what your interests are, what your budget is. There are different types of programs for every kind of student, and we'll work really, really closely with you to think about which programs might be a good fit and how those courses will work. Your academic advisor is sort of the second half of this. They're the ones who figure out how courses are going to fit into your degree plan. So your academic advisor's job is to help make sure you graduate on time and you get all of your courses in that you need for your degree. So what they will do is say, hey, here are the courses that you still need to take. And then with your study abroad advisor, you figure out, well, this study abroad program can sort of fill those places for you. And you sort of work together with your study abroad advisor and your academic advisor to make sure they fit right into your schedule and are going to help move you forward in your degree progress. So it's important to have those conversations early. If you wait until your sophomore year or your junior year to do that, you're going to already have taken a lot of your courses that you might need. And so it really limits your options. So starting to do that in your first year is really, really important. One thing to think about as you do this is your liberal studies program domains versus major courses. So the liberal studies program. So this varies for everybody based on what their major is. So for each major, you're going to have slightly different ways that the liberal studies program fits into your degree progress. But in general, this is a look at how the liberal studies program works. You've got core curriculum classes and then learning domains. And so as you're seeing right now as first year students, probably a lot of you, most of you, if not all of you, are taking a Chicago Quarter class this fall. So you'll see right in there, Chicago Quarter class. And then there's another class, you'll take a writing class, there's a focal point seminar and a quantitative and technological class you take. As you move forward, there's a multiculturalism in the US seminar, an experiential learning experience and senior capstone in some cases. And then there's the 6 learning domains, which are scientific inquiry, historical inquiry, social, cultural, behavioral inquiry, religious dimensions, philosophical inquiry, and arts and literature. Depending on your major, you'll have to take certain amounts of those throughout your time at DePaul. And then in addition to those liberal studies domains, you've also got your major courses for whatever you're majoring in that get more into the content of your actual academic program. Within study abroad, we have study abroad opportunities in a lot of these liberal studies program areas. So this is one of the key pieces of your planning as you're looking at how to plan early. Every one of the learning domains, there are study abroad programs that will help fulfill those for you. So if you haven't taken your historical inquiry, there will be study abroad programs where you can knock that out. Arts and literature. Focal point seminar we're going to talk about in a few minutes with our first year abroad programs. We have special programs called Identities Abroad programs that fulfill the multiculturalism in the US seminar, where you're looking at issues related to identity. Most study abroad programs will give you credit for your experiential learning experience. So there are lots of different ways that you can fit this in, and it all goes down to your planning. So a course equivalencies, I want to talk about that for a moment. So I'm going to quickly go to this page here, which you should be able to see. All right, so for a lot of our programs that are term-long programs, when you go to the program website, it will show you how courses will transfer back. So for example, I'm on the page right now. Actually, let me reshare here for a second. All right, hopefully everyone is able to see. Is everyone able to see my page right now that I'm looking at the website, hopefully? Right. And on this page, you'll see, if you're not able to see it, speak up. I'm assuming everybody can see it right now. On this page, you'll see for our Budapest program, for example, this is a term-long program. And in this program, we go through and it shows all different courses that other students have taken in the past at this partner university in Budapest. So for example, you'll see Marketing 572 Advertising Management. If you click on this, it shows you at DePaul, if you take that class in Budapest, you actually get credit for Marketing 320, Principles of Advertising. The work has already been done for you. You kind of keep going on here. Management 643, that one is not approved for DePaul credit. Finance 156 gives you credit for Finance 310, Introduction to Finance. This Marketing 557 class in Budapest, not approved for credit. The Art 301 gives you credit for your Historical Inquiry learning domain. So this is a great way as you're looking at each program to be able to see, hey, here's a huge list of courses that other students in the past have taken, and you can find out directly how those are going to fit into your degree progress to knock out requirements that you've got. If you also look at a short-term program, so for example, here's a program, a summer program that's a short-term program that goes for a couple of weeks to Italy. When you're looking at that program page, you click on the academic section and you scroll down and it tells you the courses. This is a study abroad course that has 2 courses attached to it. The first one is the Catholic Experience, and for that you actually get credit for either your Historical Inquiry domain or your Experiential Learning. You get to choose. And then there's a second class that's an Introduction to European Art that knocks out your Arts and Literature domain or your Experiential Learning. So again, a couple of different options for you to be able to do that. So that's the way that you can kind of look at some of these and see how this works in terms of your course equivalencies. Right. And I talked a little bit already about study abroad advisors versus academic advisors. All right. All right, I'm going to show quickly, we're going to move on now a little bit to our first year abroad programs. Our first year abroad programs are programs specifically designed for first year students. I'm going to show you a little video, talk a little bit about the model, and then I'm going to have Warren talk a little bit about the development of a first year abroad and sort of how it fits into your academic goals and your curriculum. So first thing I'll do is share my screen here. And I'm going to show a short video. Actually, hold on. Let me reshare so I'll make sure that the video plays properly. All right, and here we go.
Are you a first-year student interested in studying abroad? No problem. DePaul has special first-year abroad programs with scholarships available.
Studying abroad offers somebody a whole new set of experiences. Just being somewhere new by yourself with students away from home can teach you a lot about yourself.
As a first-year student at DePaul, you can complete your Focal Point Seminar, LSP 112, through Study Abroad. You can take a Focal Point Seminar on campus in winter quarter, and then you'll travel abroad with your professor and classmates for a week during spring break. Or take a Focal Point Seminar during spring quarter, then travel abroad for a week at the start of the summer. For a list of all the first-year abroad programs, check out the DePaul Study Abroad website.
First-year abroad programs are a great chance for freshmen or first-year students to meet new people. I know that's a big thing for a lot of freshmen. It's important to a lot of people because you're kind of starting over. You don't really know anybody. The study abroad programs are a good way to kind of immerse yourself, and so you really make a good connection with people and kind of find your place.
The application deadline for spring break programs is November 1st, and the deadline for summer programs is February 1st. DePaul also has special first-year abroad scholarships available, including specific scholarships for students of color and first-generation students.
I studied abroad my first year through the FY Abroad program. I think it was one of the best decisions of my career, just because not only did I get to meet a lot of cool people and get new mentors and really get the travel bug, but it was one of the coolest things I could have ever done.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about the first year abroad programs now. Let me kind of just start off with a little bit of an overview. So as we said in the video, in a typical year, we have first year abroad programs that happen during spring break and at the start of the summer. This year, due to everything happening with the COVID pandemic, we actually moved everything to the summer to hopefully buy us a little bit more time. We are closely monitoring the situation for all of our study abroad programs right now. And we're going to decide by February 1st, which is the application deadline, if we're going to be able to move forward with the travel for these first year abroad programs or not. But for now, we are moving forward. We're encouraging students to apply. We would love to have you apply. And then we will be in close contact with you in the months ahead as we see if we're going to be able to move forward with the programs or not. So with these programs, you'll take a course during the spring quarter, which will be your focal point seminar course, which is a required course for most first year students. There are a handful of first year students, music, theater, some CDM students that don't need to take a focal point seminar. If you don't need to take a focal point seminar, you still can do a first year abroad program. It will just have to go towards elective credit, and you'll work with your academic advisor to make sure that's okay. Honor students also don't have to take a focal point seminar, but we actually give specific honors credit for each of the first year abroad programs. So if you're an honor student, these are a great option. Each one of them will take care of one of your honors requirements. So the course happens in spring quarter, and then you travel together with everyone in the course in mid to late June for about 10 to 12 days. You get a total of 6 credits for the experience. And so here are the 6 programs that we have planned for this year. I'm just going to briefly mention them, and then I'm going to have Warren talk a little bit about study abroad, FY abroad after this. So our 6 programs. The first one is going to England, going to London. It's taught by Margaret Workman from Science and Health, looking at the life of Charles Darwin as he published his theory of evolution. So looking at the science, religion, upheaval, around that as that happened and the social change associated with that. And her class in Chicago actually has a gaming component in it where you're actually going to take on the roles of historical figures of the time to sort of be learning about those roles through role playing. So it's a really cool program that then goes to London for a week and a half. The Greece program is taught by Sean Kirkland from philosophy, and it will be looking at Athens, Greece in sort of a philosophical and historical view of Athens. The Ireland program is taught by Barbara Schaefer, traveling all around Ireland to a handful of different cities, looking at travel literature and travel writing. Our Italy program is taught by Mike Taffel, who is from the history department, going to Rome and Florence and looking at a historical perspective of Rome and its legacy. And examining that through visiting Rome and Florence. Jerusalem is taught by Lisa Mahoney from the History of Art and Architecture, based in Jerusalem, looking at the history of that city. Art, history, archaeology, anthropology, religion, architecture, of the history of the city of Jerusalem. And then the Scotland program is taught by Heather Easley from the sociology department, looking at politics, social and historical issues in Scotland, traveling all over Scotland, looking at the political situation through the centuries up till now, the independence movement, with historical and sort of social background as well. So those are our 6 programs, all very different. All will happen during spring quarter with travel at the start of summer. The way that first year abroad programs work is you pay tuition for those programs. If you don't go over 18 credits in your quarter, there's no additional tuition. So it's just included in your tuition package. You can use your financial aid the way you normally would, just like any other class, as long as you're 18 credits or less. And then there's a program fee. And that program fee covers the cost of your travel, your flights, your accommodations, most of your food, all the activities. The cost for that is typically around $2,500 to $3,300 for these first year abroad programs. But we do have funding available. We have specific first year abroad scholarships. They range from $1,000 up to almost the entire cost of the program. So even the smallest first year abroad scholarships knock out a good solid third of the cost of the program. So please, if financing is an issue, apply for the programs. As long as you get your application in by February 1st, you'll automatically be considered, and we do everything we can to try to give as much funding as we can to make this an option for students. We have specific funding for first generation students and students of color. And again, as long as you apply for the program by February 1st, you'll automatically be considered. And now I'm going to have Warren talk a little bit about kind of the history of first year abroad and how it fits into the academics.
Thanks, Scott. Can everyone hear me? Great, thank you. Thank you for chiming in. It's not surprising that Scott chose a historian to talk about the history of the program, but I'd actually like to introduce a couple other comments first. And one of them is that I think one of the reasons Scott recruited me for this is that I am quite upfront about the fact that study abroad changed my life. It was literally a life-changing event. And as part of that, I'd also like to urge you to forget your assumptions about what you think study abroad is is or is not. Sorry about that. Because there are so many unknowns out there that are just waiting for you to know them, to learn about them. And the study abroad staff will do everything in its power to help you, to show you the way to explore your interests and find some program that works for you. There's a lot of stuff out there just waiting for you to discover it for yourself, and the study abroad program will make it work for you, will work to make it work for you. So I hope that's okay, Scott. I wanted to get that out there. I envy your all of you your opportunities that you have in front of you, and I hope it can happen for you. The first year abroad program with its global hour is entering, I think, its 11th year now, isn't it, Scott? Yeah. It was begun. The planning for this started over 11 years ago. And the whole idea was to take an aspect of the first year curriculum and make it available to first year students. Because we know now, especially, that a first year study abroad experience can open up future opportunities for students to pursue their interests and their majors and things in depth in an international context. Also, there's nothing like learning by doing, and traveling overseas in an academic context can really bring you face to face with issues of intercultural stress and wonders, and also can help lead you on the path towards a global citizenship, a global competence. And of course, as Scott has prepared here as well, I mean, we live in an international world, and you know, while it may not be possible for all of us to know everything about the entire world, there is certainly great value in all of our lives to learning a bit more about at least one other part of the world. And then finally, this idea to introduce, provide opportunities for new students to connect with faculty and staff. Every first year abroad program has its faculty director and its staff director. The faculty director typically teaches 15 sessions, 90 minutes, and the staff director teaches 5. This is the global hour component. And in the global hour, you examine and you read and you find out and you explore more about things ranging from travel strategies and skills to educational and career planning and everything in between, especially issues of group dynamics. DePaul has long been, I think, a leader in short-term study abroad. And one of its I think, great achievements is this idea of teaching a course, an entire course, before you go to the site you're going to. So by the time you get on that flight and you arrive in Jerusalem for your 10 or 11 days there, you have some background knowledge. You have the opportunity to then apply that knowledge on site. And also, you've gotten to know your students, your directors well, and so you can sort of hit the ground running, because we realize that study abroad is often a challenge to schedule, but it's worth it, right? And I've personally led 7 first-year abroads to Jordan. I know many of the other faculty members. I think the study abroad program recruits really fabulous faculty for this, and I know that I've just had a wonderful experience with the staff directors with whom I've worked. So it's really, in many ways, it's sort of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
Warren, can you talk a little bit about your experiences in Jordan and what you have gotten from that, what you've seen the students gain from this experience? Yeah. Sometimes what their expectations are before and then while they're there and afterwards.
Everyone, I think, has their own motivations for studying abroad. But what I've discovered in my history with the Jordan program is that for a lot of students, they never really imagine traveling to a part of the Middle East, for example, on their own. Now, of course, there are always exceptions, but this gives them an opportunity to get a taste of the world, of a part of that world, that in a structured environment, and I've seen just some remarkable things happen. It's it's really incredible, and it's a privilege as an instructor to watch students encounter something new to them for the first time, and then talk with them about how their impressions, what they were, how they may have changed. And sometimes it's just great to watch a student walk through the Seek of Petra, the long canyon, the opening, the first opening where you see the treasury pop up on you. If you don't know where those places are, I urge you to Google Petra and the treasury, and you'll see it's a spectacular place, and that's only touching the surface of a particular site.
Great. Thank you so much, Warren. And we're going to
You're
have some time at the end for questions as well. So I would love to have a couple of students actually talk. So we've got a couple of students here that are going to talk a little bit about their experience. Olivia, why don't we have you go first? Olivia is junior this year, is that right?
Yes, correct.
And she did the China program a couple of years ago. So yeah, why don't you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about that experience?
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. Hi, everybody. Like you said, I participated in the first year abroad program to Beijing, China. It was 2 years ago now. So that took us around like the metro, and then also around Beijing, particularly to the Great Wall. That was like the farthest we went out of the city. And we studied environmental challenges of the 21st century. That was the topic of our course, and kind of like our main focus while in Beijing. And we, like I said, went all around the city. We went to Peking University, one of the main schools in Beijing, and got to talk with fellow university students about their experience in Beijing, and then also heard from Friends of Nature, which is an NGO, the oldest NGO, I believe, centered around conservation in China. So we went to their headquarters, which was kind of on the down low, obviously, because of different policies and things like that. But it was really interesting to visit them and hear about how China has kind of handled this rapid rise in population in relation to environmental issues and concerns. We visited all of like the classic destinations as well, like the Forbidden City, Temple of Heaven, the Summer Palace, the Great Wall of China, National Stadium where the Olympics took place in 2008, and this really cool like art zone on our last day. So so many different places, and that doesn't even begin to cover everything that we learned and did while in China, but that's just a little overview. And I kind of learned about the program first from researching on the website. Actually, I knew that I wanted to study abroad as soon as possible, and the study abroad website was great just to have all of my resources in one place as I was kind of figuring out what I wanted to do, what country I wanted to visit. And I definitely, in thinking about what I gained and reflecting, a couple of years later about the experience, I've made so many friends and connections through the program that I still talk to nearly daily. We all have a group chat and still talk and reflect on how amazing the experience was. And we've only gotten closer as the time has gone on, and we've been able to reflect, and it's nice to have those memories to go back to, especially in this time when memories are kind of all we have where we can travel right now. So it's nice to kind of think about those times. And I also learned a lot about myself and the types of experiences that I value and connections I want to make. It was so neat hearing from people, on the ground in Beijing working on environmental policy and trying to make a change in that regard. So I loved being there and learning about that. And for all of you as first year students, I would just say definitely look at all of your options and don't rule anything out. Try to plan as best as you can and talk with your advisors and think about your future as something that isn't set in stone. It can change, and I would just say be adaptable and get excited, because this is such an amazing opportunity and programs that DePaul offers. So I'm glad you're all here, and I hope you want to get involved.
Thank you so much, Olivia. That was awesome. So good to hear from you. Taya, you're here, I believe. Do you want to talk a little bit about your experience on the Ireland program? And actually, we have a rotating group of about 12 to 14 first-year programs that aren't offered every year. Jordan and China are two that are not offered this year. Ireland is. And so, yeah, Taya, why don't you talk a little bit about your experience?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. One of my favorite things about coming back is like hearing how other first year programs experiences were. Like just listening now to like Olivia's experience just like threw me back. Like I don't know, because everyone's experience is so unique, and you know that yours is unique too, and you wish that everyone can experience all of it. But yeah, so I went to Ireland, and our class was on travel literature. And I remember finding out about it just from looking at like the flyers in the academic center. I knew that I wanted to study abroad too, like Olivia, and I remember seeing like first year abroad, and I didn't even know that there were opportunities for freshmen to study abroad for short term. So that was a really cool thing to find out about. I also attended the study abroad fair, which I don't know if that's still running this year over Zoom, but I remember
We're having study abroad week right now instead of it. So you are in the midst of what we're doing instead of the fair this year.
Got it. But yeah, I remember that. I think that was the first place that I found out about the first year programs. I remember I never even thought about ever going to Ireland. I never had an interest in going to Ireland. And then I saw that there was a program on travel literature, which actually interested me because I like to write when I travel. So I was like, oh, this could be a really good experience to like actually read travel literature and like see how I can improve on my own. And like it ended up being so amazing. Like I was so surprised that beforehand I had never thought of Ireland as being like a place that I wanted to go. And then afterwards I was like, wow, I just want to go back. But I think that also has a lot to do with the environment that you're in and like the people that you're with. So like, for example, one of the biggest things that I think I gained from the first year program was all the people that I met and connections I made, just like Olivia had said, and I'm sure so many other students would say the same thing. The majority of my friends right now are people that I met through that class, through that trip, and it's just so amazing. And Dr. Schaefer is one of the coolest people I know. I am still like emailing back and forth with her. She wrote me a recommendation letter last year for a study abroad program I applied for this year. She's amazing. Yeah, it's just, there's just so much. I don't even know. We traveled around all of Ireland. We went to Dublin, Cork, Galway, and Doolin. I would say that we got a good taste of a lot of urban life and rural life, which is really interesting. And I think that the Global Hour especially helped us kind of learn the do's and don'ts of traveling to a different country, especially as an American who's unaware of like their context and history. So I think that was very valuable. And advice that I would offer is if you're on the edge of, and you don't know if you want to apply or not, I would say simply apply and decide later. I know that COVID-19 is making people very hesitant with studying abroad and applying for programs, but I would say that it's really worth it just to put your time into the application and then leave it and like let yourself decide when you get the letter back. I remember the one thing that was preventing me from wanting to apply was the cost of the program. But then once I got in and once I started getting excited about it, I was seeking scholarships, and I even I told all my family members for Christmas, like, don't get me anything, just donate to my Ireland fund, please. And then I ended up being able to pay my dad back and everything. And I don't regret like a single cent. It was one of the best experiences.
Thank you so much for sharing. I don't think Camila is here unless she's here under a different name. We had one more student who was going to talk, but yeah, that's fine. So what we'll do now is we're going to say a little time for question and answers. A couple people did have to leave. We'd love if you can still stick around for the questions and answers. If you do have to leave, I just put into the chat a link to an evaluation. We are giving away a Visa gift cards for people that do the evaluations. It's a super quick evaluation. It'll take you 1 minute. So just click on it, answer the few quick questions, and then we're doing a drawing at the end of the week. For every session you go to, you can fill out one and have a chance to win the gift card. So if you do have to leave, please do that. But if not, please stick around. What questions do people have? You can either unmute or you can type something into the chat if you'd like about how to plan as a first-year student, sort of how to approach this process, about the first year programs in particular, questions for me or for Warren or for Olivia or Tam. Yes, I have a question here. If COVID-19 prevents current first year students from participating, will they be able to apply again next year? Great question. We're gonna see how that works. We wanna make sure next year, if that does happen, we still wanna give opportunities to the first year students next year to be able to do this, but we may be able to take a limited number of students as sophomores. If you are not able to take your first year seminar this year, then you are eligible to apply as a sophomore. We have some students, particularly science students often, who are in a course sequence in a way that it makes them difficult to do their focal point seminar that first year. So yeah, I think there is the potential that we may be able to accommodate a small number of people as sophomores to do it next year. The other thing is too, we have over 50 different short-term study abroad program options. So if you don't do a first year program, we've got a ton of other short program options that we can walk you through as well for almost every one of the colleges and schools. So if it's not one of those, we'll work with you closely on tons of other programs that you can choose from. What else? Other questions?
Olivia and Tio, thanks so much for sharing your experiences. Have either one of you gone on to do other study abroad since?
Yeah, I actually have. I went to Athens, Greece with the intention of staying for the semester this past spring, but was obviously, flown back or taken back because of COVID. But yeah, I got to spend a couple of months there, which was amazing. And even though, it got cut short, I think it was really a rewarding experience still. So if any of you are interested in doing that Athens program, I think that would be super cool. Because when I was there for first year abroad, because I feel like it's just such a rich country to explore and study, and there's so much to learn from it. So I would definitely recommend going there.
I'm actually hoping to go to Merida, Mexico this winter, but we'll see what happens in regards to COVID. But if I don't end up going this winter, I'm still planning on going my senior year.
Great, thank you both. I see another question here. Are there study abroad programs for things like learning language or having an internship abroad? Yes, absolutely. Particularly those longer programs. Difficult to learn a language abroad or do an internship on a short program of a couple of weeks, but our term long programs where you're there for a whole quarter or longer, we have a number of those that do have internship components to them. And then of course, a number of those where you can definitely be doing language learning, doing intensive language or a limited number of language courses while you're there. So if you want to learn a language or do an internship, a whole bunch of opportunities for those. On our website, you can do a search by some of those things, and it will help sort of narrow down and show you which programs, for example, have an internship component to them. You can also make an appointment with any of our study abroad advisors, and they can talk you through that. We have a study abroad 101 that we run every day virtually. So if you go to our website and look at the study abroad 101 schedule, every day you can just join in on that. It's a half-an-hour presentation that gives an overview of how study abroad works. And then also you can make an appointment online virtually with any of our study abroad advisors to sort of talk that through, and they can kind of talk through with you the best language learning programs depending on the language that you're looking at, as well as internships. We are in Study Abroad Week right now. This is day 2 of Study Abroad Week. There's a whole ton more sessions coming up in the next couple of days. And we are going to actually have a whole session on internships abroad. So check the schedule. That's happening, I think, on Friday. So there's a whole session talking about interning abroad. We've developed some new virtual internships that have just started this summer, where we've had students doing internships internationally but virtually for different companies and organizations. And then also on Thursday and Friday, there's some other sort of career-related sessions too with Study Abroad in Your Career, but there's definitely a specific one on internships. What else? Any other questions?
I would also like to add regarding the learning the language, in case you're learning Spanish, the Mérida Mexico program is specific to language and culture. So just wanted to do a little addition.
Great. Yeah, we have a lot of different language-based programs for lots of different languages.
And sometimes the exposure to a new language to you in one of these programs can lead to future study of that language. I know many of the alums of the Jordan program have gone on to study Arabic, and a few of them have even gone on to get prestigious national fellowships as well. And I know that the instructors of other programs have had similar experiences. This is the sort of thing that can trigger a long-term interest.
Follow-up question on there. Is it recommended to be a junior or senior to do one of the longer programs? And then a question about for the virtual internships. Kind of first thing, yeah, I'd say most students who do the longer programs are juniors or seniors or sophomores. Hard to do your freshman year because you don't have enough time to plan and get it into your schedule, but absolutely as a sophomore, you could be doing it. In a lot of students, junior year or start of senior year is the time to do it. So anytime sophomore through senior year, that's possible. And again, the earlier you start to plan, the better. Doing it a little earlier can be nice because, again, if you've taken a lot of your liberal studies domain classes in your sophomore year, by the time you get to be a junior, you're getting a lot more into your major classes. And so sometimes it can be a little bit trickier to fit in. Some programs are actually tailored very well to certain majors. So you're able to knock out a lot of major requirements, but all of those liberal studies domain classes are very easy to fulfill with a lot of different study abroad programs. So it's one of those where the sooner you can plan and talk with your advisor, you can see, hey, I want to do this program next year or my junior year. I'm going to get these credits for it, so I'm going to leave spaces in my schedule. I'm not going to do these classes as a sophomore because I know I'm going to knock them out when I go abroad. The second question was about the virtual internships, how to sign up for them. You apply for them on the Study Abroad website, just like all of our programs. So if you go to the Study Abroad website and search, you will see a program that's called Virtual Internships, and there's information about it and all of the application deadline details as well. So you just fill out the application. For all of our Study Abroad programs, you just fill out a simple application with a handful of questions and submit it by the deadline. So you can find all that virtual internship info there. And then let me look up right here. I've got this, I'll bring up the Study Abroad Week schedule, and I can even tell you when that session is going to be, so you know. The internship session is, the international internship session is on Friday at 2 o'clock. So Friday at 2 o'clock, if you go to the Study Abroad page. There's also a Working Abroad for students looking at working abroad while they graduate at 10 in the morning. There's how to leverage Study Abroad for your career at 1 o'clock, but international internships is 2 o'clock on Friday.
I also just want to, oh, go ahead. No, I just wanted to add, I was a sophomore when I was studying abroad. So with the semester, like for my long-term study abroad. So, and I know like several other people who did that too. So as long as you're planning and being intentional about what you're doing, then I think you can make it work early too.
If you want to do it in fall, you need to get on it pretty quickly. For spring, winter and spring, you better
100%, yeah.